right, let's talk about something every dog owner has probably noticed at some point. You know your dog better than anyone, right? You notice every little quirk, every change. But what about that little drip coming from their nose?
I'm sure you have. And you've probably heard that a cool, wet nose is a sign of a healthy dog. Well, that's not the whole story. A persistent runny nose is definitely something we should pay attention to. It's actually one of the top reasons people bring their dogs in to see me. So, over the next few minutes, we're going to break it all down. We're going to help you understand what that drip really means, what to look for, and most importantly, when it's time to pick up the phone and call your vet. Okay, first things first, it is so important to get this one concept. A runny nose in a dog isn't a disease in itself. Think of it more like a signal, a clue, that something else is going on under the hood. The fancy vet term is Rhinorrhea, which is really just a way of saying there's some kind of abnormal fluid coming out of the nose. It can be anything from thin and clear like water to something thick and colorful. And where it comes from and what it looks like, well, those are our biggest clues to figuring out the real problem. So what's actually causing it? Well, the list of potential culprits is pretty long, but don't worry, we can group them into a few main categories to make it easier to understand.
You know, just like people, dogs can have allergies. This is a big one. Things in the environment like pollen, dust, or even strong smells from things like cigarette smoke or your cleaning supplies can trigger their system. The body's response? It tries to flush it all out with a clear, watery discharge.
Next on our list are infections. You've probably heard of viral things like kennel cough, but we also see bacterial infections, which often show up after another problem has weakened the area, and even fungal infections. There are even tiny little parasites called nasal mites. These kinds of issues usually bring along other symptoms, not just a runny nose.
Now, this next category is really interesting because it shows how interconnected everything is. A dog might just inhale something they shouldn't have, like a grass seed. Or, and this one surprises a lot of owners, a bad tooth infection can actually create a pathway straight from the mouth into the nose. We also have to think about things like growths or even problems a puppy was born with.
And a dog's breed can absolutely play a role here. Think about it. Dogs with long noses, like a German Shepherd, just have more real estate inside for fungal spores to land and set up shop. And on the flip side, our flat-faced friends, like pugs, can sometimes have a runny nose their whole life just because of their unique anatomy.
Okay, so you've spotted a runny nose. Now what? Let's talk about the signs you can look for at home. Let's turn you into a nasal discharge detective.
This right here is probably the most important question you can ask yourself. Seriously. The color and consistency of what's coming out of your dog's nose is one of the best clues you have. Let's look at this chart. If the discharge is clear and watery, we call that serous. It often points to something simple, like mild allergies or the very start of a cold. But if it starts to look thick, cloudy, and yellow or green, well, that's what we call purulent. That color means immune cells are on the scene, fighting off a bacterial or fungal infection. And finally, if you see any blood at all, from just a pink tinge to a full-on nosebleed, that's a red flag. It needs to be checked out, no question.
So this is the big question. When do you need to act? Generally, you can monitor at home if the discharge is clear, your dog is still eating and playing like normal, and you don't see any other symptoms. But it's time to see the vet if that discharge changes color, if your dog starts coughing or seems tired, or if they're pawing at their face. And of course, if it's just not getting better after a couple of days.
So let's say you've made the call. What happens next? Don't be nervous about the vet visit. Think of it as teamwork. You and your vet working together to solve the puzzle. We always start by listening to you. Everything you've seen at home is a vital clue. Then we'll do a full physical exam and we'll pay special attention to the mouth. Remember that tooth connection. From there, we might need some more info, maybe from a nasal swab or an X-ray. And in some cases, we might recommend a rhinoscopy, where we use a teeny tiny camera to get a direct look inside the nose.
Once we have a diagnosis, we can start talking about a treatment plan. The goal is always the same. Treat the real cause and help your dog breathe easier. The treatment really has to match the problem. It could be something as simple as a course of antibiotics for an infection or antihistamines for allergies, or it might involve a procedure like removing a foreign object or doing some much-needed dental work. Your job isn't over when you leave the clinic. There's so much you can do at home to make your dog more comfortable. Letting them hang out in a steamy bathroom while you shower can really help with congestion. Gently wiping their nose, making sure they're drinking plenty of water, and keeping their space clean, it all makes a huge difference. And I really want to touch on this old myth about the cool, wet nose. Please, let's put that one to bed. A sick dog's nose can feel any which way. What's important isn't whether it's wet or dry in one moment, but noticing when it's different from your dog's normal. So if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. You are your dog's #1 health advocate. You're on the front lines. Noticing these little details, the color of the discharge, their energy level, that's the first and most critical step in getting them the help they need.
So think about it for a second. Now that you know what to look for, has it changed how you'll view a little sneeze or a drip from now on? Being an informed and observant owner truly is the best gift you can give your dog.
And as we wrap up, please remember, this information is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional veterinarian advice.
If you have any concerns about your pet's health, please consult with your certified veterinarian.
They are your absolute best resource for ensuring your companion lives a long, happy, and healthy life.